What up? Watching another episode of Dallas Ebonics where we talk black. And so, this is a pretty interesting episode, you know what I'm saying? Because I did a lot of research on this and I've been studying for a while. And I'm really starting to understand what Pimp C meant when he said knowledge is power. Because it is. I'm really starting to understand that knowledge is power. And so, the title of today's episode is Race Does Not Exist. Race does not exist. So we just gonna jump into it. I had seen this video by this woman named Dr. Jacqueline Batalora, right? And in the video, the woman states, white people did not exist before 1681. And she goes on to say it was something about something called the Bacon's Rebellion. And the white people and the black people, I guess they linked up and they went against the power structure at that time. And white folks created these racial sludges of white and black in order to control the population, divide and conquer. And so this is what they did. And what I just been coming to understand is that it's not about black and white. It's about power. It's about who got power and who don't got power. You know what I'm saying? Black and white doesn't exist, and neither does any other race. People should be identified by their bloodline. If you read the Bible, back in the day it would say so-and-so begot so-and-so, and so-and-so begot so-and-so, and blah, blah, blah. This is what they did because they would always identify themselves as whoever their daddy was. I'm from the tribe of Judah. I'm from the tribe of Issachar. I'm from the tribe of so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And so this is what they did. And white folks changed the game by identifying people by color as opposed to their place of origin. They used to, before 1681, they would say people from African descent, or they would say from British descent, or whatever your situation was. But after 1681, it changed from British descent to white, and from African descent to black. That's why I just, why? I just wanted to know why. Why did they do that? Control. For control. The term white was created by Maryland lawmakers. They used to call us by our country of origin, but it changed in order to control us and dehumanize us by law. The word white and black are political terms. They don't actually exist. They were made by white men in Maryland. They don't exist. And so I would ask myself, well, if black doesn't exist, then what am I? If not black? I mean, just my skin isn't black. So why am I called black? Just thinking logically. So what am I? And so I did some research. And on the video, the woman was saying it's not that they necessarily gave whites more privileges. It's just that they took the privileges that the whites had away from us. You know what I mean? So this is what a lot of people don't understand. They don't care about white folks either. The ones that are in power, they don't care about white folks. They don't care about any of us. Because it's about power and control. But they allow the white folks to still maintain their sense of superiority in order to, keep us in a subservient posture because they know we are a threat to them. And how are we a threat? I'm glad you asked. We are a threat for several reasons. Number one, we have power. What kind of power? We have economic power. Economic power meaning black people in America, we gross, I think, over $1 trillion a year. We gross over $1 trillion a year. We have power in that. You know what I'm saying? There's other countries like Iraq. The GDP of Iraq in 2019 was $708 billion. That's less money than us. The GDP of Nigeria was 1.1 trillion. That's less money than us. The GDP of the state of Israel overseas, 387 billion. That's less money than us. Why is it that these people have countries, they got hospitals, they got schools, they got everything they need to sustain their people in their land, but we don't have any of that? Why is that? You know what I mean? And I know the answer, but why is that? You know what I'm saying? And so I just started asking myself these questions. How are we a threat? We have power. We have economic power. The powers that be know. The average white person don't know nothing about nothing I'm talking about. They don't know nothing about power or none of that shit. But the powers that be, they understand black people have economic power. We just don't know how to use our power. That's what's killing us. We don't know how to use our power. We try to buy black as a punishment to white folks, when buying black should be a lifestyle in order to sustain ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We don't understand the power that we have, and we don't understand how to use that power. You know, how else do we have power? We have genetic power. We have genetic power. We are dominant. The white race is recessive. You know what I'm saying? We have genetic power because if I have sex with a white woman, the baby is black. If I have sex with any woman, the baby is black because my genes are dominant. Their genes are recessive. That is a threat to them. They know we can annihilate their entire race just with in between our legs. And you know, they having a real problem right now with this feminist movement, which is nothing but the white woman's movement against the white man. Yeah, white women have become very dissatisfied with the white man and what he can do for them outside of money. Very dissatisfied. So what do? Out of spite, they run to the black man. Yeah, white women love them some black men. Yeah, and they know that their man, I almost want to say that white women get with black men just out of spite because they know that the white man don't like it. I'm almost inclined to say that. But, you know, it's just so interesting. We are genetically a threat to them. They know that we can annihilate them just with in between our legs. You know, how else are we a threat? Militarily, we are a threat to them. What does that mean militarily? Nobody on earth understands the white mind like black people. Here in America, nobody understands white people like us. We know all their tricks. We know all their schemes. We know exactly how they move. We know everything about them because we've dealt with so much of their terrorism for so long. We know what they do when they get desperate and don't get their way. We know exactly how they are. We are in a very interesting position of power in that respect. One of the other countries out here, if you're watching this, come link up with us. Come link up with us. You tired of America and what America's doing to you, and what they all in your country doing this and this and that? Come holler at us. We'll tell you exactly how to deal with them. We'll tell you exactly how to deal with them and exactly what they're going to do when you start winning. We know exactly how to deal with these people. Nobody understands them like we do. Yeah, come holler at us. You know what I'm saying? And we'll lace you up. Yeah, for a small fee. Yeah, you give us something, we'll give you something. Yeah. The enemy of your enemy is your friend. Yeah, all the enemies of America, come holler at us. Yeah, let's talk business. You know what I'm saying? We have power militarily, and the powers that be know that. They know that. If we was to ever get internationally, if we was to ever get an international ally, and we was to lace them up on all the tricks of America, bro, America's over with, bro. Nobody understand the white man like we do over here. That's power. But we don't know how to use our power. I think that we should really stop trying to get civil rights and equal rights. That 50s and 60s stuff, that's over with. Stop trying to repeat the 50s and 60s, and we need a new plan. We should be using the power that we have strategically to get somewhere. But all of this in the street, crying and all that, that's not getting us nowhere, bro. That's not getting us nowhere. I like what the NBA, I just put out a video about that. I like what the NBA players did, but bro, we have power. Stop, playing games with them and use the power that we have, because we have it. Use the power. This is what I keep telling us. And so, they created these racial slugs. You know what I mean? Just a big conglomerate of a bunch of different people that they consider to be white or they consider to be black. You know what I'm saying? They created these racial slugs, and it's kept us from understanding who we really are. I started doing some research because calling ourselves black is actually, inadvertently reinforcing our own inferiority. This is why Kendrick Lamar came on that one album and he said, I'm an Israelite, don't call me black no more. That word is only a color. It ain't facts no more. Now I'm understanding what he meant. That word doesn't mean anything. Calling ourselves black is actually reinforcing our own inferiority. I'm going to do it for the sake of the video and because, you know, it is what it is, but that's what we're doing, you know. And so, it's not just us. See, this is where it get real interesting. It's not just us because I noticed that they do it to the Mexicans too. They do it to the Mexicans. The words Hispanic, you know, Latino, it's the exact same thing. It's just a sludge of a bunch of different people that white folks just threw into one category just to make it easier for them. This is what they do. And so, Hispanic is considered Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Salvadorian, you know, Dominican, Guatemalan, Colombian, and, you know, several others. You can Google that. I found that information on Google. Google tells me that Cubans are Hispanic. Let me tell you my problem with that. Not that many, you know, when the slave trade popped off, not that many slaves really went to Puerto Rico. You know, in 1820, it was about maybe 20,000 slaves in Puerto Rico. But in Cuba, there was between 800,000 and 1 million slaves went to Cuba. As of now, Cuba is 65% black. And so, this is my confusion. We came from Africa, and they took us to America. Cubans came from Africa, and they took them to Cuba. So we're the exact same people by bloodline. You know, because that's what it's about, the blood. We're the exact same people through the bloodline, but white folks call us different things. They call them Hispanic, they call us black. Why? Why? I mean, I don't understand. Why do we have different names, but we got the same bloodline? They do this in order to keep us from understanding who we are. I'm telling you, bro, this is interesting. Central American natives were also enslaved. Yeah, that was their main. It was the, you know, the Europeans' main means of income was the native enslavement down in Central America. It was about 500,000 natives. Yeah, Mexican natives were enslaved. I asked myself, right, 500,000 natives in Central America enslaved. The Puerto Rican natives enslaved. Cuban natives enslaved. All these places had people already on them. So I asked myself, well, who are the natives? And this is when I really started tripping. I said, who are the natives? And I came across this movie. I'm going to leave a link in the description too. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to leave all my sources in the description. You ain't never got to wonder where I got my information from. I said, who are the natives? I came across this movie called 1492. 1492 is a movie about Christopher Columbus and him coming over here. And, you know, when I was in school, they told me that he was trying to prove that the earth was a globe, right? And so he was going to go out that way, go west from Europe, and he was going to eventually pop back up on the other side of the world. And he just accidentally ran into these two giant continents in the middle of the ocean, America. And so, this is what they told me in school, right? But then I see this movie, 1492. 1492. And in the movie, it was a scene, and he talks about, you know, where are you going to go? Like, what new route are you going to take to get the rice or whatever he was selling over here, blah, blah, blah. And he was saying, oh, well, I'm going to go across the ocean. I'm going to go west across the ocean. It's a new route. And the man say, well, where you find that route at? He said, Esdras. And the man said, Esdras is a Jew. Now, let me just stop right there. Christopher Columbus, in this movie, 1492, said he learned about a new route to get overseas from Esdras. And the man said Esdras was a Jew. And so, you know, my radar started thinking, Esdras? Esdras from the Bible? But now he ain't talking about that Esdras. He talking about second Esdras from the Apocrypha. Why is Christopher Columbus in this movie written by a white man quoting the Apocrypha, which was written by the children of Israel? Somebody explain that to me. Why would he be in this movie quoting the Apocrypha? And so, just let me give you a rundown of history, right? So, back in the Bible days, right, you had the land of Israel, and you had the children of Israel that was in the land. You know, Israel, name was Jacob, and God later named him Israel. Most of us have heard Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God later changed Jacob's name to Israel. And you got the children of Israel. He had 12 kids. And all of these kids had kids. And they all in the land of Israel, right? And then somehow they started beefing, right? It was 12 tribes of them. And they started beefing with each other. And 10 of them, separated and went up north. And the other 2 stayed down, and they was down south. And now the land of Israel is now split into 2. You got the northern 10 tribes and the southern 2 tribes, totaling 12 tribes, right? And what happened was the northern 10 tribes started getting into paganism and idolatry and all that other stuff, right? And so God ended up sending them into captivity. You know what I'm saying? And the bottom 2 tribes, the southern tribe, Judah and Benjamin, they end up later going into captivity too, but then they came back. And then God seen that they were still wrapped up in a whole bunch of, stuff they shouldn't have been doing. And so God sent them Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And then they still connect, right? And so they went and they went into captivity again, or they ran into exile and they ran into Africa. This is what they did, right? And that's not really hard to believe, because the children of Israel always ran into Africa. This is why when Jesus was born from the tribe of Judah, Jesus was born and God tell Mary, hey, take the child into Africa, because the king or whatever was saying he was gonna kill the firstborn or every child under 2 years old. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do your history. I can't, explain everything. You just gotta do your history. And so they sent the child. God told Mary to take Jesus into Africa. Why? Because the children of Israel always ran into Africa. Why? Because we got the same skin color. You know what I'm saying? We knew we could blend in Africa. Yeah, Africans have the same skin color as us, but they got a different bloodline. See, they were a different bloodline. We ran into Africa because we could blend in, but they were not the same bloodline as us. We were different. You know what I'm saying? And white folks have us confused on color. We think that just because the Africans are black, that we're the same as them. We're not the same as them. You know what I'm saying? Russians have the same skin color as Australians, but they're not the same blood. Britons have the same skin color as the Greeks, but they're not the same blood. They're different blood. We're different people. You know what I'm saying? We just had the same skin color. And so anyway, that's how we got into Africa, because we ran after we turned our back on Jesus, and then God exiled us from the land. We ran into Africa, and we started beefing with the Africans, and then they ended up selling us to the white man, and the white man came, overpowered us, and took us overseas into America and all the other places that we at now. But the northern 10 tribes, they never came back. The northern 10 tribes never came back. We went back, and then God gave us Jesus, and then we left. The northern 10 never came back. So where'd they go? There's only one part of the book in the Apocrypha that talks about a land over the ocean that I've seen, and that's 2nd Esdras 13:40 through 45. And I'm gonna read it right fast. 2nd Esdras 13:40 through 45. It's amazing the stuff they hide from us. Look at this. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanazar the king of Assyria led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, and go forth into a further country, where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely a year and a half, and the same region is called Asarath. And so, going back, why was Christopher Columbus quoting 2nd Esdras out of the Apocrypha written by the children of Israel? If he was trying to prove the earth was a globe, why was he in this movie quoting the Apocrypha? Christopher Columbus knew that them people was over here. He knew that the natives was over here already because he read their book. This was the book written by the children of Israel. He read it. And that's how he knew that they was over there. And if you don't believe me, then explain to me why Christopher Columbus had a Hebrew translator. Christopher Columbus had a Hebrew translator, and everybody know that the children of Israel spoke Hebrew. Why do you think Nick Cannon came out and said, we are the true Hebrews, and got backlash for all the stuff he said? Because he said, we the true Hebrews. What did he get that? What does that mean? True Hebrews. The children of Israel spoke Hebrew. The 10 tribes and the southern 2 tribes I just explained, they all spoke Hebrew. The northern 10 went up north. The southern 2 went into Africa. And if you look on the map, the northern tip of Russia is very close to the northern tip of Alaska. And that little piece in between is called the Bering Strait. Google it. Yeah, you can Google it. It's called the Bering Strait. And every certain amount of time, the land dries up. And the animals can pass over. This is what they did. This is what they did. They went up through India, Russia, all them places, went up through, made it to the tip, crossed over the land bridge, came across into Alaska, and then made their way on down. Why do you think they got African pyramids in South America and in Africa? That's the only other place you find pyramids. Is how? They came up through the top, through Alaska. They came on down. The natives, they've been here. They've been here. These are the 10 tribes. How did Christopher Columbus know they was over here? How did he know he needed a Hebrew translator? Google it. What's his name? Luis de Torres. Google it. He had a Hebrew translator. How did he know he needed a Hebrew translator if he was trying to prove the earth was a globe? He knew they was over here. He knew they was over here, and he knew what language they spoke. How? Because he read their book. How do I know he read their book? Because he said it in the movie. He said it in the movie, 1492. It's just interesting, bro. The games that these people play on us.